All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new movie review. And what a great time to review the new Freddy movie called Five Nights at Freddy's. I was like all in. Great. A new movie about Freddy Krueger? You can't be serious. I had no idea this movie was coming out, and I was excited. I mean, even the main character at the beginning of the movie was being plagued by dreams. And I'm like, this is going to be great. A brand new Freddy movie in the year 2023. Yeah, well, it's not that Freddy. This is a different Freddy. No, I digress. I was not duped to that degree. All right, I knew what I was getting myself into here. Now, to talk about this film, Five Nights at Freddy's, you have to understand that I've never played the game. I know nothing about the game. So if anybody wants to chime in down below and let me know which of the story elements of this film were actually canon to the game, I'd be all game for hearing about it. But this movie's interesting. This movie stars, let's take a look at some of the characters here. So this movie stars it's actually a small cast of characters, to be honest with you. You have Josh Hutcherson, who plays Mike in this film. And in this movie, he is a guy who was plagued by these dreams. And you quickly find out that his brother was actually kidnapped when he was younger. And he's been looking for his brother ever since. And he thinks his dreams are actually the key to finding his brother. At the same time, he's taking care of his sister, who is much younger than he is, because that event had actually caused his parents to break up, and his mom, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, had actually passed away. And so he's taking care of his sister, but he also has his aunt, played by Elizabeth Lale, played by Mary Stuart Masterson. Never thought I'd see her in a movie like this. She plays Aunt Jane in the film, and she is trying to get custody of Josh Hutcherson's, Mike's sister. Her name is Abby in the film, played by Piper Rubio. Now, you also have, what happens at the beginning of this movie is he's having a hard time keeping jobs. And because of what happened to his brother, there's an event that happens at the beginning of the movie. I'm not going to spoil. I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. There's an event that happens at the beginning of the movie. He's actually holding down a job as a mall security guard, and something happens that causes him to lose his job. So he has to go see Matthew Lillard, who is actually played, Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo films. Haven't seen him in a while, but he is actually in the film, and he plays kind of a recruiter who helps him find another job, actually taking care of this place called, it's Freddy's. And it's a pizza place. They got video games. They've got pinball tables, all kinds of stuff. And it's run down and dilapidated. And he is hired to to protect it basically at night. Now, there's a crazy scene at the beginning where you see another security guard working there actually get killed. Now, people need to understand that this movie is PG-13. And so it's not full of blood and disgusting things happening. So if you're expecting to go in and see that, it isn't going to happen. In fact, the director actually came out, and her name is, I want to make sure I get this right, Emma Tammy. And she said there will never be an R-rated cut of Five Nights at Freddy's, that what you see at the theater is what was intended. So let's talk about this film overall. I will tell you, once he gets this job, real quick, once he gets the job down there at Freddy's, some weird things start to happen. And he actually befriends this cop who comes by his first night there. And her name is Vanessa, played by Elizabeth Lale. And she has a bigger part to play in the film as well. So these are kind of the main five characters in the movie. And it kind of revolves around them. But it's mostly about Josh Hutcherson and his brother. Now, it's kind of an interesting movie. This film, first of all, let's talk about the look of this film. The look of the film was phenomenal. I thought it was competently directed. I liked the lighting. I liked the atmosphere. It had a very good horror-type feel to it. Now, I don't like horror films in general. The only series of horror films I've ever enjoyed were the Nightmare on Elm Street films. And I'm just not a horror fan. And so with this being PG-13, it was free on Peacock, which I thought was interesting. And that's why I watched it. I wasn't going to go to the movies to see this. I actually have a 146-inch screen in my theater room, and I decided to stay home and watch it. And I did think it was competently directed. It had a good look to it. And for the first 3/4 of the film, I thought it was really interesting. The story was unraveling and it was engaging. And then came the fourth quarter of this, or we'll call it the third act. There's always 3 acts in a movie. The third act is kind of what lost it. It kind of unraveled in a way that was kind of, I wouldn't say silly, just not well thought out. The overall story was really good. It's the way it was executed at the end. I think it could have been done quite a bit better than it was. So I think the writing was the thing that kind of drug this movie down at the end. Overall, it was entertaining. I enjoyed watching it, but don't go in expecting to see this bloody horror film. That's not what this is. And again, I don't know anything about the game, so if you guys want to chime in and let me know if you know about the game and how that story progresses, I would love to hear. They do leave this open for some sequels. I will tell you that at the end of the film. I do think that there's actually a post-credit scene, so you want to stick around for the first part of the credits. And then Freddy does say something at the very end. I didn't catch what it was, but he spells something out, and I didn't catch what he spelled out at the end of the credits. But there is definitely more planned if this movie does well. Will it do well? Not so sure. I don't know how it's going to be received by the public. So out of 5 stars, at the end of the day, I give this film 2.5 stars. It was very promising for the first, 2/3 of the film, but the last third of the film, the last act, really kind of dropped the ball a little bit. And there was just some weird dialogue. So I think the script could have been tightened up a little bit. The story could have been tightened up to be quite a bit more engaging and more powerful than it was. But the first 2 acts were pretty well done. So there's my review, 2.5 out of 5 stars. If you guys have seen it, what did you think of the movie? Do you think this is going to be grounds for making a brand new franchise for people to go see these movies almost on a yearly basis? Let me know your thoughts, and we will see you on the next review.